You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. President Joe Biden finally gets his first judicial nominee confirmed by the full United States Senate. Today, they voted 66-33 to confirm Julien Xavier Neals, the newest U.S. District Judge in New Jersey. He served as the Chief Judge of the Newark Municipal Court in the City of Newark for 8 years and as County Counsel for Bergen County since 2015. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said Biden's nominees would bring back balance, experience, and diversity to the judiciary branch. Let's go to my panel. Ben Dixon, host of Benjamin Dixon Show podcast. Teresa Lundy, principal founder of TML Communications. Mustafa Santiago Ali, PhD, former senior advisor for environmental justice, EPA. And so, Mustafa, I figure you ain't going to be the only one wearing a hat today. So go ahead and rack that. Ben, I want to start with you. Democrats, I think they finally gotten the message how important the federal courts are. Of course, the last year and a half of President Obama's term, Mitch McConnell held up 100 positions, left them open because and then they were able to fill those positions. Donald Trump appointed nearly 200 federal judges, 25% of all appellate judges, and they appointed a whole bunch of right-wing young white folks between their mid-30s and 40s because they want them on the federal bench for the next 30, 40, 50, 60, potentially 60 years. And so do you think Democrats now realize, progressives now understand you can't ignore the presidency and the Senate because that's how you get federal judges who outlast any president?
Absolutely the case. And Roland, if you think about the fact that they will be there, those conservative judges will be there to roll back or dial back whatever legislation that the Republican Party is unable to block, they could find some way to deem it unconstitutional and have it be caught up in litigation for years at a time. So we can't overstate how important it is for the Democrats to lock down the judiciary, but we also can't underestimate or understate rather how detrimental it was for Donald Trump to have as many appointments as he had.
You know, and the thing here, Teresa, it's important, again, to understand the courts. And so you can have all the emphasis on electing people, but if the courts rule the law is unconstitutional, you're still screwed.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the biggest takeaway here is, you know, when we're bringing up some of those major issues for gun reform, the women's rights to choose, LGBTQIA, and so many other hot topic issues, you have to remember, like, you know, if the court isn't measured and if it's not balanced and if it's not fair due to some of the, you know, conservative hit points that I think some of the jurists may bring onto the bench, then we're likely in the same state of advocacy, the same state of, you know, protest if we don't do it the right way. So I think progressives are, really conservatives are doing probably was in the best interest right now. I'm sorry, I can't talk today. The best interest right now for the young millennial generation that they are looking to essentially, I think they're thinking the longer game versus just the presidency. And I think we've seen it in the last election. So I'm hopefully, Democrats are waking up.
Mustafa, look, you're talking about a very narrow majority there in the United States Senate. The key is getting folks through the Judiciary Committee. Democrats can actually do that. On the bottom line, we saw with this vote, 66-33. The reality is, even when Trump was president, there were a lot of Democrats who voted for federal judges on the Republican side. But this is where, again, folks who understand the power of the courts need to wake up. There were a lot of black folks. I know some black folks, especially black men, who were talking about, hey, this stuff doesn't matter. And I'm going, yeah, it does. And so you can act like Hillary Clinton is no big deal, Joe Biden is no big deal. Oh, we've had worse than Donald Trump. But those federal judges, that's where the power lies.
It's all about the courts. It always has been. And we understand that that's been a part of the Republican strategy is to control the courts. So for those black men who said, you know, they voted or for whomever they voted for because of economic reasons, well, the court interprets what's going on. So if you're for economic justice, then you have to pay attention to the judges and the opportunities that exist in that space around policy and the review of statutes and a number of other things. If you care about health justice or health care, then the same thing. The courts play a significant role there. And of course, if you care about racial justice issues, the courts are incredibly important in that space. So it is about, also where resources will go and where they won't go. The courts play a role when they interpret the law and the statutes that are on the books. So folks just need to understand that we have to be educated, and we also have to be engaged on multiple levels. And the judiciary is a part of that strategy if you're serious about making change.
We're talking about the federal level here, but Ben, this also impacts the state level. The Supreme Court ruled that they were not going to get involved in partisan gerrymandering and left it up to the state Supreme Court. Well, guess what? In many of these southern states, Republicans control the state Supreme Court. And so that's why the local judges, the municipal judges, the state judges, the state appellate judges, if you're in a state where they elect judges, you better understand this matters.
Absolutely, Roland. And you really think about how Republicans are playing for keeps here. They're not playing around with this. They have most of the gubernatorial seats, the governor's mansions. They have the legislative branches on the state level, and they have Supreme Courts. And so they are actually building the kind of dominance that they would need to be able to rewrite this country in their own image, even beyond what it was at the founding of this country. That's what they're going for, and they're stacking the benches to make sure that they get that.
And then what happens, Teresa, of course, like in your particular state in Pennsylvania, Republicans were so angered by what took place in 2020 election, they're trying to actually change how state Supreme Court justices are elected, trying to go to a district model, which will guarantee conservatives will always control a majority of that state Supreme Court, because right now they're elected statewide. The impact of voters in Philadelphia and the suburbs, Pittsburgh and the suburbs, they want all of those, as they say, outside of those two areas, Pennsylvania is Alabama. They want to be able to control the state Supreme Court so they can run roughshod.
You're absolutely right. So we just got finished having a judge election here where we were literally voting on the state Supreme Court, the Superior Court, Commonwealth Court, and of course the local elections here. Even local elections is a tenure of 10 years. But when we talk about the state elections, you're absolutely right. Republicans are controlling, I would probably say, just the elections and the narrative. I think there has been a fluid opportunity where Republicans has seen that they likely, in some of those major counties you talked about, Roland, from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia, they just won't win a Republican seat in our city, or in our county. But in the other, 65 counties in Pennsylvania, they likely have an upper hand. And so when it comes to the judges' elections, we really have to understand that it's a particular interest in these positions, especially on the state level, because when we saw the issues that were happening during Donald Trump's presidential bid, there was a lot of scrutiny here on PA elections and in Philadelphia. So what the Republicans are currently doing, outside of trying to take over some of the areas of the law, they are also trying to get rid of the row offices here in the city of Philadelphia, which are the county commissioner's office, which pretty much determines the votes. So it's a very interesting ploy and a play, because they do run the Republican majority. But it's I think it's the real opportunity that we all can see is that if people do not get out and vote, these are the type of issues that will happen that will escalate outside the state to the U.S. Supreme Court. And
again, what we're trying to underscore here, Mustafa, is for people to understand, Republicans love talking about court packing on the Supreme Court level. Well, they're the kings at court packing. Arizona, that's what they did. They got rid of the entire Supreme Court in West Virginia, alleging corruption, replaced them, and there was a Democratic state Supreme Court in West Virginia, replaced them with conservatives. North Carolina, same thing there. Democrats could have had a 6-1 majority in the last election. They lost a couple of races. Now they only have a 4-3 majority. But that's how that state's racial gerrymandering case was overturned, because Democrats control the state Supreme Court. So folks better wake up and realize judges matter.
Judges definitely matter. If you truly want to have a representative democracy, a strong democracy, then that means that you have to have a balanced judiciary. And when you don't do that, you see these imbalances and you see really a teetering and a dismantling of democracy. And we're seeing the beginning stages of that now across our country. So if folks want to make sure that we actually have a country to be proud of and one that honors equity and inclusion and a number of the other things, then you got to make sure that you're getting out, you're voting, and you got to make sure the judiciary is working properly.
Folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have, you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.